but we're talking about body count. And we're not talking about, the mafioso body count, but like notches on a belt. So this should be juicy. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back. So I am Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This, which is a full service design firm. So we handle anything from small logos, or actually sometimes that's a big project. I've had them last couple years for big corporations. So anything from that to a postcard to buses, whatever your need is, give us a call. But before we dive into today's juicy topic, I want to introduce Laura, my co-host.
I am Laura Fickett, owner of Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, where I love to help people with their financial stress. Are you financially stressed? Everybody is in one way or another. So give me a free consultation call and we can have a discussion. And, I've helped thousands of people. There's ideas that float through my head that, maybe it work for you. And there's no reason to live your entire life with financial stress constantly weighing on you. Let's find a solution and make you more wealthy. So today's topic, as Antoinette alluded to, this is episode 69, which we totally didn't even plan that, but it's body count, which, I don't know, it's a kind of an uncomfortable topic, I suppose, but it's really on the rise. The numbers are getting higher and higher, and I don't really understand why. So we were just talking before we started recording with Alan, who records our podcast with us, and, in his generation, which is a little bit before mine, 5 was a high number for people. And in my generation, I thought double digits was a high number for people. And now you've got 20-something-year-olds saying they lose count at 50.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a lot.
Yeah. I was listening to a couple people online where they were just, honestly, they're proud of having hundreds, like proud, like, or I remember seeing a post where it was a total loser guy writing a dating profile. It's just basically, I have no job. I have a little ding-a-ling, I live in my mom's basement. It's like on and on, and someone like put it up on Facebook or whatever to get a laugh. And I was just shocked. There were all these posts like, I do them. And they were dead serious. Like, disgusting. Yeah.
I don't really know what the disconnect is, but as a mother of 4 children, it's concerning for me because, and as a Christian, I'm thinking this is not God's design for sure for people to sow every seed. This is definitely not his design. He didn't say okay, Adam, choose from these 50 girls, or he gave Adam Eve. That's it.
I think it's almost like people have sexual diabetes. Need
insulin?
It's you get diabetes from so much sugar.
Oh.
So it's like, there's just too much, and it's that hookup culture with the, swipe right, and people, a lot of times people will hook up and they're, it doesn't have to be any, in today's culture, it doesn't have to be somebody with staying power. It was just like, the chemistry was there. So let's have fun. And you don't understand that it's doing a lot more than just, fun for the night, but it's doing things psychologically. It's doing things
physically.
There's a lot of stuff that people...
And it could give you a gift that keeps on giving.
For the rest of your life. And I hate to be sexist, but to a certain extent, men and women are different. I mean, they are. Anyone who says we're the same, I think is insane, And I'm not one of those everything a man can do, a woman can do. No, there's things that...
There's a song about that. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. No,
but maybe that was female to female or male to male, but whatever. But there's things that are just, there's a reason why they let men play female sports, and when they go to boxing, they're killing women. They're just...
the bone structure.
Right. There's a lot of things differently, so let's just not pretend they're the same. And part of the difference is what attracts, a true masculine male and a true feminine female are attracted by different things. you know?
Yes, I mean, and this is when we make these statements, it's generalization.
Yeah.
You know, like there could be 5% of the population that doesn't follow this, but 95% of the people,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking about in general.
Yeah.
There's always exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
But I also have to look back to, you know, like mainstream media. And I think I remember this movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin, like it was funny, right?
Yeah.
And then I think back, like, let me think of all the chick flicks and all the movies that I've watched. And they really do create a culture where people hop into bed.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that way. If you watch older movies, even I watched Pretty Woman with my daughter just recently because she had never seen it. How she escaped that movie in our household, I have no idea. But because I've watched it so many times. But even when there was an intimate scene, it kind of like was just, they started to get intimate and then it faded to like the next morning. Now, like there's so much culture around this, you know, people just jumping into bed. They go on a date and then they're back and they're in the sheets and it's graphic and all kinds of other stuff. I mean, and you got the big screen TVs. It's like you're in bed with them.
Yeah.
It's so I have to think like, why would they want to steer culture this way? But ultimately, then I look back to the Bible. It's the breakdown of families.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, God wants people, husband and wife, to be married and procreate and all kinds of other, have dominion over everything, including the fish in the sea. But if, you know, the opposing team wants something different, they want people that don't get married and commit to each other. And now you have people that like are so, like you said, are so proud of these high numbers. Yeah. And then I did talk to somebody whose number was fairly low, and they were like kind of embarrassed. That's just something you should be happy about. Like this is an act that should only be shared with someone you care about, somebody you love, somebody you want to spend the rest of your life with.
And then just to go back to the numbers conversation. So in general, again, I want to bring up some of the male-female differences. So in general, men actually inflate their numbers in general. So if they were, whatever it is, they'll probably double it for their body count, where women are actually usually half, because they might count the men that they had a couple day or some sort of relationship where they remember the person's name, where they're going to dismiss those one night stands or I met somebody at a bar and we went into the bathroom, whatever. But there are these things where it's actually inflated one way and deflated the other. But one of the things too that I was kind of bringing up with the male female is when you're looking at, when you're done playing around and you want to actually settle down with somebody, what guys look for in a mate is different than what females look for in a mate. So for females, I know we're talking body count in general, but I think it's even worse for females because, for example, when you're looking for a guy, when you're looking at like, this is a good guy, he has to do things in his life that add value. What kind of job does he have? Is he a good provider? There's things that add value. Women, what makes them a good partner is, did they not lose their value?
Oh, yeah.
So if all of a sudden somebody's very promiscuous.
Because we're automatically valuable.
Well, like we're born with intrinsic value, or men have to create their own, But
we're not biased at all.
No, but that's kind of how it is. So in general,
kind of true.
It is kind of, I was thinking about this last night, like what are the differences and some of the things to discuss. But it's so true because women, they'll do things in their life and it's detracting from their value, where guys will do things will add, and that's different. That's the difference of the sexes in what's perceived. And you got to realize if you're looking to mate, and get married or have a longer term relationship, 80% of the women swipe right on 20% of the men, or find those 20% attractive. So they have their choice, male or female. So when it comes to choices, they don't have to, if you have hundreds and proud, you're not even on their radar. You might be a fun Friday night for them, but they're not thinking anything beyond that.
But really, I mean, I'm not in the hundreds category. I'm not even, I'll be honest, I'm not even in the double digits category. But I don't understand like how it could maintain its value, that act, if you get up in these high numbers. Then it's just like, I mean, you've gone to church less than you've than you've gone to bed. Like, come on now. And the thing is that, like, I understand people say, oh, well, it's human nature. Like, there's a doe, like in mating season for animals, the doe is looking for one buck and the buck is looking to populate. Look, we're not animals, okay? Like, that God gave us dominion over those animals. We are different. If you want to go live in the woods and be a bear, then I guess now you can. It's 2026. You can be a cat. You can be whatever you want. Like,
I identify.
Go be a doe or a buck or whatever. But human beings, this is not how we were designed. And I feel like I had this conversation with my friend. So I'm an accountant by nature, and I know, when I tell people I'm a CPA, they're like, wow, you're really kind of extroverted, and I like economics and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm not your typical bean counter, but I have had this conversation. I'm like, okay, if you bring home a one-night stand and it's not any good, then you regret it. So the outcome is negative. And then if you bring home a one-night stand and you're never going to see them again and it was really good, then you miss it. And so it's a negative. So I can't find a positive solution to this act. Yeah. And the person I was having that conversation with, one of my good friends, she said, well, what about like just for fun? I'm like, is it fun to have relationship with somebody that's bad? She's like, well, no. And I'm like, is it fun to pine over somebody you're never going to see again? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
So how much fun is that?
Yeah.
So I think it's filling this void or this need that people are in general lonely. They're lonelier. We've done a podcast on how lonely our society is, and it's filling a temporary fix. Like Weight Watchers had this saying, don't give up what you want the most for what you want in the moment. That's what people are doing. They're giving up what they want the most, which is, connection and love and a partner in life for what they want in the moment. And it's not everybody. We're just in general, though.
Well, the other thing, too, is what was I going to say? The people that I know personally that are into this kind of hookup culture, they're all, and again, I'm not saying this to offend any particular person, but the ones I know are wounded in some way. Either they're drinking a lot, they're under the influence of drugs, or they have some sort of emotional thing that they haven't gotten over in their past. And they're using this to fill that sort of void. And the problem is when you do this, where you have all these multiple sexual partners and it's just this never-ending stream of men, you actually are whittling away your self-esteem, whether you realize it or not. To sit there and go, all these guys want you. I mean, sorry, guys, but you'll sleep with pretty much anything. It's not a big, I mean, most will. I
have a man behind the counter that's nodding.
No, but
his wife does not watch this podcast.
No, but
I'm just kidding.
But I remember this episode of, it was like Ally McBeal, and it was so funny. So she was speaking with her her friend, and they were at lunch, and she was saying men are ridiculous. They'll sleep with anybody. Like, just watch this. So she went over to the bar and she just tapped a guy on the shoulder. She goes, I don't know you and you don't know me. I don't want to know your first name. I don't want you to know mine, but there's a hotel across the street. Would you like to go over there and just make love? And then that's it. We'll never have to see each other again. And the guy's like, Bill, like here, just take this and I'm out, And then she's like, oh, no, I changed my mind. And then she went back to her friend. She goes, see? And then she goes, and then she was talking to Ally McBeal, like, well, would you do that if a guy tapped you on the shoulder? And again, this was years ago. Maybe women would say yes now. But if some guy goes, I don't want to know your name. I don't care about you. But I just want to,
I want to use
F your brains out across the street. Most women, I think, would be like, no. So there is.
They at least need dinner.
Where's my spaghetti dinner and all this, But it's just a different context. And then the problem, too, is if you have all these multiple partners, when you actually do find someone that, let's say you care for each other, you have a tough time pair bonding because it's a learned behavior to get sexually aroused by any little thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to prevent you from that intimacy that God designed for pairs. And I know a lot of people struggling that, again, they're having a tough time with, you know, fidelity or how to spice up the marriage because, again, they've numbed themselves to what's normal.
I wonder if there can be like some sort of reset,
I'm sure they're,
I wonder if like, if you are in a position, right? Here is the ultimate problem is you could be watching this and be like, oh my gosh, like I do have a higher body count and I made decisions that I shouldn't have and I regret them. How do I fix this? Because you can't like erase the numbers. It's not like they're written in pencil, right? Yeah. So like, but I do feel like maybe you have a reset, right? So maybe you go a year or maybe you go a span of time where you reset because we're all evolving and changing. Yeah. And then at least when you're having a conversation with somebody, you can say like, when I was younger, when I, this, whatever, I had a lot of partners, but for the past 2 years or 3 years or whatever, I've only had one or whatever it is.
I think
there has to be some sort of reset for people. It can't be like a lost cause.
No, like I think all things are, possible through Christ, obviously. There's all things you could do. But also, you shouldn't even be talking about it. Like, you know what I mean? If you're sitting there proud of like, well, I had, was it Geraldo Rivera? Like, I've had 1,000, like.
Oh, there's so many people that have no idea what you're talking about.
No, but I remember he came out with this like book and everyone's like, big deal, but even like, okay, so Justin Bieber, he had that whole thing, like before he got married or whatever, he's like, I'm going to be abstinent for a year or whatever until marriage. And that was something that he wanted to do to reset himself.
It's like when people find Jesus and, they're born again into a new life.
Yeah.
I think if you have a conversation with God and you repent, I really think that you can start over. So I don't think it's a lost cause if you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But I do think the culture definitely needs to change.
Yeah.
Because nothing good can come of this.
No. And then the other thing I just want to kind of, you were saying that and it's reminding me of, in my church, we were studying the Italian prophet Malici or Malachi, as other ones know it. But one of the things he was talking about at the end was like when Jesus comes back and, whatever, and all are going to be judged. So you don't know when this day is. It could literally be this afternoon. It could be tomorrow. But God's going to judge you on where you are. And in there, he's very, very specific about sexual morality and all these other things. And that's not only body count, it's porn, it's like all those things. He's very clear of how he feels about it. So I don't want people to be thinking about like, yeah, well, someday I'll get right, or someday. You're doing a lot of damage, like I said, psychologically. And then there's so many people too that, oh, I could have kids when I'm in my 40s or get settled down then. You're dealing with a whole different biological process where at that point it might be difficult. You know?
My husband, always the realist that he says he is. We have this conversation because like we can have these conversations with each other. And I'm always trying to pick his brain because I don't know how men think. So I'm like, well, tell me how you think. And so this is, he's not going to watch this. It's fine. He says to me, realistically, think about it this way. A guy, is with 50 women. They have one tool that they're using to do the job. And that tool stays the same shape and the same size. And it doesn't expand or at all. And so a woman, though, she's I don't even know how to say it. Like, I really do think.
I think we all know where you're going.
Okay, but she has 50 people that
rubber bands go bad at some point.
She has 50 people she's been intimate with. Well, she's not using. She is using the same tool, but the input is different sizes and shapes and colors and whatever. And so it does affect physiologically her body. And so I had never thought about that. My husband, of course, thinks about all kinds of random things. And I was like that. I mean, that's valid.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's totally true because You can damage yourself, not just psychologically, but physiologically. And we're not even getting into transmitted diseases.
Oh, yeah.
Like we can go to the villages in Florida to figure
Yeah.
out that one.
But the other thing is too, like when like men are looking for, oh, this is somebody I want to settle down with or whatever, and it comes out that here's somebody that's been with all these people, there's a lot of thing that goes through their head. And one of them, which most women don't realize, is, can I make this person happy? Because they don't want to invest or attach their lives to something that is going to be fleeting, or maybe in a couple years they're going to be like, And if you've been with so many men of all this thing, part of that they're going to think, who knows? Maybe at some point they'll get bored or this or that.
People do worry about cheating.
Yeah.
Right? Like
that's the other thing
trust.
is, how faithful is this person going to be? If they've been with 100+ people, how faithful they're going to really be to me? And then will this person be a good wife and mother? Because again, if they don't have any sort of morals or whatever, do you want this person, being the mother of your children too? It's
or the father.
Yeah.
Or the father.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge thing
and it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't think we can solve it overnight, but I do think people have to make a conscious decision to change that habit because, people are forgiving. I'm a forgiving person. God says that you should be forgiving. And we've all made mistakes in the past. I know that in high school, my father passed away when I was 14 and I hitchhiked and I've done things that things I'm not going to mention here and things I'm not proud of now, but that's not who I am. And so I changed my ways and now I can look back and I learned from those mistakes. So if you learn from those mistakes and you, like I said, you do like a reset, you say like, well, when I date, I'm going to date somebody for a significant amount of time and it has to be serious before I ever become intimate again. And maybe you go, like you said, Justin Bieber went a year, you go 2 years. I don't know how long it takes. Probably everybody's different. But if you change that, then you can say, in the past, I was promiscuous, or use whatever word you want, but I saw that it was not helpful for me in my life. And so I changed. And since 5 years ago, and you can reset. Like I firmly believe that anybody can change. If you don't like your past, change it.
Yeah.
But don't bring it into your future. Don't continue to do the same mistakes over and over again and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah. But I think so many people just think
it's getting out of control.
It is getting out. And like I said, the fact that people sit there and gloat about it. I remember I was watching some protest march and there was a woman with a sign gloating about she had like 12 abortions or something. I'm like, that's disgusting. Like, I don't know, like sew the leg shut or so. I don't know. Like protection.
There's so many ways. Like that's a topic we could get into.
Yeah, but it's like there's so many things that you may be proud of it, but just understand that other potential partners, friends, bosses, they might not share your proclivity for this being an amazing feat or task to have this many notches on your belt.
Here's something interesting about that topic, and I'm just going to go on a side for a little bit. There's this group of people that are always like, oh, my body, my choice, all kinds of stuff, and that's fine. But that group of people in New Hampshire, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, they fought in court and said like a baby in womb has its own rights. And so they fought. And so then the judge says, well, if you think a baby in the womb has rights and you terminate it, then that means you're a murderer. And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
They were oops, because they were originally saying one thing and then they didn't even think that one through, did they?
Nope.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
But I think as far as this body count, like, so my husband and I have been together for 16 years, but so you've been single. Like, do people bring it up in conversation? Like, in dating?
Well, I find that some people...
Do you get it out on the first date? Like, hey, what's your body count?
No. First of all, like, usually what guys ask, which I think is just a terrible question anyway, was, how long since your last relationship or something like that.
How long since your last confession? This
No.
must be Catholics only.
No, but they'll say that, like, how long since your last relationship? So I don't even know what's good for them. Like, is a, oh, I just got out of one yesterday. Is that good? Or the fact, oh, it's been
They
5
don't want to
years.
be the rebound person? Is that what they're looking for?
I don't know what they're asking about that, but that's a common question. But the other thing is, there's a lot of guys that just assume sex will happen immediately. So, like, I met this other guy and he's like, oh, so, I live in Ormond Beach. So he's like, oh, we're in Ormond Beach. And I'm like, why does this guy need to know where, So I kind of just gave a general, and he's like, oh, I was just curious because, and he kind of said where he lived. And I was just like, oh. And then he kept kind of like bringing it up. And the next thing it's like, oh, you want me to come over? I'm like, okay,
Right.
we've exchanged
Yes, I have
4
cabinets
messages.
that need fixing. Let's see how handy you are.
No, but it's like, it was like 11 o'clock at night too. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, But people just assume, and that's what they do, is they literally, it's not that they think you're so special. They just know there's a lot of people out there that are going to go, yeah, come over.
Yeah.
And then whatever.
Netflix and chill, booty call, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you know what they're expecting. I mean, it's not like, oh, I thought we were going to chat at midnight.
I invited you into my bedroom to change the sheets.
Yeah.
Because I hate putting the fitted sheet on.
Yeah. But it's like, you know where it's going. And then, like, so it's, to me, it's pretty easy to filter those people out. And I think there's a lot of people that are like, well, if I don't do this, then I'm going to lose out on a good person. What I found is it's very easy to scare away the wrong person. It's very difficult to scare away the right person, because it's not going to be, oh, I misspoke and said this word instead of this one, or I wanted to wait a little and they need, like.
Well, what's the worst that happens if you wait? Like I told my husband when I met him online, I told him point blank, it wasn't going to the bedroom. Like if he said, okay, forget it, then he wasn't worth my time in the beginning.
Yeah.
And if he waits, then
yeah,
we're going to eventually get there. Have a little patience, we got to close up soon. But one thing I wanted to add before we finished is what I think people, we talked about this on another podcast, is fear-based decisions versus faith-based. And I think when you get into bed too quickly, it's a fear-based decision that you want to actually like have some connection with this person, or you don't want them to leave. And, it's fear-based. You're afraid that you're going to, like you said, you're going to lose them. And it's not faith-based, trusting that developing a relationship is how it is. And in addition, I think people are so afraid that they're going to fall in love and then the intimate part is not going to be great, that they think, I have heard people say this, like, well, I think we should just get it out of the way and see. But what they don't understand is when you do fall in love, it will be greater than if you had done it on the first date.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to add also really quickly is what I found, because you were asking online, what I found is so many guys are actually like disgusted by the fact of how easy a lot of women are. They're like, like it's so gross. Like,
why buy the cow when
yeah,
you get
let's
the,
like, the
when you get the milk for free.
But they're at the point too where, they'd be like, oh, it's so refreshing to have somebody with some morals, or it's refreshing to, not have somebody like, asking to see my privates, or at like it's just crazy to me. But I just thought it's worth saying, for sure. But so next topic, this should be interesting. So next topic is just going to be about stealing your sunshine. Like, that's what I call it. What did you call it? That's what I call it.
Don't steal my joy.
Don't steal your joy. I always say nobody steals my sunshine, because you know what? You're actually responsible for your own joy, nobody else. So if somebody's taking it, you're letting them.
Yes. And you know what? I think this could be a 2-part too, because we could talk about boundaries on how not to let people steal your joy. But I was thinking about it because I was sitting there and I felt my blood starting to boil. And I thought, wait a second, like, how can you can't let people steal your joy. You were happy. Like, you can't let the temperature rise. You need to relax yourself. Like, so I just thought in my head, don't let anybody steal your joy. And then I was happier. It's a very simple fix.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about that next week, and it's going to be so much fun. But until then, hopefully this was a very helpful and informative. And if you're a parent like I am, talk to your kids about this, really, so that this habit, this bad habit, doesn't keep going generations to generation and get worse and worse and worse. Can you imagine, like, if the next generations is thousands? Okay, so we got to put an end to it. But until we see you again, like, never stop learning.
And never stop laughing. See you soon.